Jason Harvey and Emma Twaddell. I think it's just Emma.
It is, sorry, Jason.
Well, not just Emma, it is the inimitable Emma, St Albans Residents Association.
Yes, and I am here with my Residents Association hat on, and Jason is not here because he's too busy at the community centre. Thank you very much, everybody.
Excellent. It's good to hear that it's very busy.
It's very busy.
Yeah, in Christchurch.
So I might use my own computer because I don't know how to use yours. So I'm just here very quickly I'm the St Albans Community Activator is my paid role, and I get paid to activate projects within the area of St Albans. I've been involved in St Albans Residents Association for over 20 years, and during that time there has been 20 years of community input and volunteer work put into ensuring that our community, St Albans, feels attached, so people feel attached to it. Now, Sarah believes that the representation review actually doesn't comply with the requirements of the Local Government Act and the guidelines due to the inaccurate definition and name of the communities of interest. And so that's what I want to focus on, the community of interest, which I've heard others speak about today as well. And I'm sure that you would know those communities of interest to us residents are very, very important. And so because these haven't been recognised, you're actually not representing the communities of interest in Christchurch. So here is the document from the review, and unfortunately the name is not even correct. St Albans isn't St Albans, it's St Albans. There is no saint in Albans, and we're quite proud of that. And this was established by the New Zealand Geographical Board in 2011. So here we are. So they can, 2010, they considered it, and they have officially altered the spelling from St Albans to St Albans. So we'd like to see that corrected in any documentation, that our suburb is correctly spelt. And here's, here you see the communities of interest, which they're identified by the CCC as Edgware, Marihau, Mirabel, and they're all within, all these communities are actually within the identified boundaries of St Albans. And of course this breaks down our social history. St Albans has a proud history of being a community where the residents enjoy being part of it and identify it. Our community first identified itself officially in Christchurch in 1881 after a very robust St Albans discussion, and the boundaries and the name of St Albans was successfully petitioned for by the local residents. And on the 3rd of January 1882, the first meeting of the councillors of this area was held. The people living in the area still identify with St Albans as their geographical community of interest, and local groups from the St Albans Mutual Improvement Society, which was formed in 1866, through to the current community-led organisation SARA, have continued to grow the social capacity of our community, St Albans. Over this 165 years of civic engagement, as St Albans, this has resulted in, as far as we're concerned, an identified community that provides residents with neighbourliness, social networks and support resources to benefit their lives. Oh, whoops, sorry. Forgot that one. Yeah. That's the very first community building that was built by the residents. Oh, sorry.
Very expensive building.
Yes. Things have moved along. And Sarah's surveyed the community several times since the mid-2000s, and our community tells us they want a strong, connected, inclusive neighbourhood that retains and maintains the character and the history of St Albans as a distinct suburb and community identity. We did some research with the university in 2014, and the boundaries there were the results of the survey where people identified with St Albans. So although St Albans appears to have a strong identity without a real need of a boundary, the residents of St Albans do need to be represented. These are some comments that, so these were some comments in the research that we've done. And so, the review does not represent the real community of interest, St Albans, that it actually exists, and the council are failing to do their duty to define our communities of interest. Communities of interest do not exist to fit into mesh box. They exist because people build and develop bonds they share with each other. They don't stand up to the framework accepted by the Local Government Commission when used for assessing communities of interest on the Banks Peninsula. The guidance offered by the Local Government Commission during the research regarded the concept of community of interest in broad terms as a collection of people in an area where the level of social and economic interaction and shared interest and identity are greater within the area than outside the area. The advice goes on to state, I consider that it is important to identify those which result in communities of interest that are reasonably self-contained for a variety of social and economic purposes. And of course, St Albans is. And also included in the report was the Māori perspective on communities of interest. To understand Runanga relationships, it must be appreciated that the fundamental principle underlining Ngāi Tahu relationships is whakapapa. The function of whakapapa is to anchor groups into known landscapes and to establish the ongoing basis in which tribal mana, identity and activity in the present are validated by the past. Whakapapa is articulated through the care and protection of the environment, taonga, cultural practices and guardianship over the resources, economics, the people and the Ngāi Tahu's spiritual environments. So St Albans community does not want to continue to fight the system that is meant to support their lives. It wants to be recognised as being part of it. We've lost all our history with our buildings, and we really believe that our social history in Christchurch needs to be looked after and supported. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Pauline.
Yes, thanks, Emma. So looking at the proposed boundary for the Innes ward, do you have a suggestion where because the southern boundary at Cannon is very close to the community centre, do you have a preference of where that south boundary should actually sit, or are you happy with it there?
To be honest, I'm not too sure if it makes any difference. At the moment, St Albans is in 3 wards and we are managing it. We're more interested in the council recognising St Albans as a whole. We don't want our river streets to be in Māori. We don't want our St Albans Park to be in Edgware. We don't want our Edgware Village, the heart of St Albans, to be in another made-up suburb or a postcode.
Right.
So the boundaries,
they're just lines.
They're just lines, yeah. And I personally think if we've got great people sitting around the table, if we vote in great people and good leaders, that's not quite so as important as us being recognised as communities.
Oh, thank you. That's a very good answer.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you for such an in-depth submission. It's actually really interesting as well, and apologies for the saint. I accept your suggestion that there are no saints in there, and
Apart from me.
I used to live there.
Excellent. Thank you very much, everybody.
No, thank you very much. Right, the next submission is